I was raised in these evangelical Baptist dispensational
Yeah, me
churches,
too. Me too.
and I'm trying to unlearn all of this crap that I was indoctrinated with as a child. And um I don't know, I'm trying to learn like the differences between the Catholic and the Orthodox churches. So, do both of them confirm covenant theology?
Well, this gets a little complex because prior to Vatican II, the Orthodox and the Catholic position on these issues was the same. We believed in the typological fulfillment of the nation state of Israel in the church. Israel is a type of the church. The land is a type of the church and a type of the world, and the church conquering the world through the gospel. So that typological continuity and that covenant fulfillment position is no different, classically speaking, between Orthodox and Roman Catholics. However, post Vatican II, via documents like Nostra Aetate, Lumen Gentium 16, ecumenical documents that the Vatican put out some years back about the relationship of the Roman Catholic Church to the Jews, Ratzinger's book, Many Religions, One Covenant. These documents have all affirmed, and including the new Roman Catholic Catechism, that there is an ongoing, continued relevance to the quote Old Covenant for Jews today. So the Roman Catholic Church has backtracked and become ambiguous on this question, and that's precisely why Benedict, John Paul II, and even and Francis have all said statements like we shouldn't proselytize Jews. So I would argue that those are contradictions from the Roman Catholic Church because, for example, if you read uh, the Council of Florence within Cantate Domino and the other documents of Florence, there's explicit statements. That's a Roman Catholic Ecumenical Council. There are explicit statements that there is no sense in which any of the Old Testament rites or covenant is to continue on or be considered valid in any way. And so the statements that I mentioned from Nostra Aetate, Lumen Gentium, and especially the Vatican relation of the Church to the Jews document from like I don't know a few years ago. I forget the exact name of that document. Those documents were hugely controversial, and I would argue that those are contradictory to Florence.
Okay, I'll have to like do research into what you've said. I'll probably have to listen over the recording, but so do do like what about how does everybody feel about the mark of the beast? Like, did they believe it already happened or?
So I believe in partial preterism that the references in the book of John, excuse me, in the book of Revelation to Nero, or about, excuse me, about the Antichrist, are about Nero. So you could read a good book like Before Jerusalem Fell, or Peter Holford's book, Destruction of Jerusalem. Those are easy readable texts. Um, but that's the normative interpretation of a lot of the Orthodox Church Fathers about Matthew 24 and Luke 21. But we do think that there is going to be some final Antichrist and some final attempt at, some kind of mark and controlling everyone and all that. Yes.
Okay, so I have a theory. For those who believe like another mark of the beast system could happen, do you believe? I don't know if I'm the first one to have ever thought of this. I'm probably not, but how would you feel about the theory that Zionism is the mark of the beast? Because you don't have to be a Christian to be a Zionist and to push for Jews to have their own religious ethno state. How would you feel about that?
I don't know necessarily that Zionism itself, which is a secular, political movement amongst, pacifist, progressivist Jews from a century plus ago, that would necessarily be the mark. I mean, the mark is identified as something specific on the body in some spiritual sense or perhaps some physical sense. So, I mean, I don't know that it is that, but it might be related in some way to a future third temple or nation state of Israel. Those are all possibilities. But if you look at a book that's in the Orthodox canon that's not in the Catholic canon, Third Maccabees, there's an older version of this, which I think in the book of Revelation, when John talks about the mark, he's not like just kind of picking that out as something that hasn't had any historical precedence. If you read Third Maccabees, which is again, it's in the Orthodox Bible, Third Maccabees has Ptolemy doing this very thing. And I think we can get some insight into what this is through reading Third Maccabees, because when he, as a dictator, tries to institute a mark for everybody to buy and sell, it is called the mark of the mysteries of Dionysius. Now, I'm not saying that necessarily that means that the end of the world's mark will be, quote, the mysteries of Dionysius, but it seems to be some kind of blended sort of, pagan mystery religion thing.
Well, this is the last thing I'll say, and I'll let the next person come up. But I started to have this idea because if the Bible describes the Jews as the synagogues of Satan, and you're pledging your allegiance to Zionism to these people, then I feel like that could be kind of plausible. So,
Well, I mean, I'm not positive that we are in the last days, in the last days. I mean, in one sense, the end times, the last days began at the first advent. Jesus says that, he would bring the age to come in the church. The church is the age to come. Joel says that when the Holy Spirit is poured out on all flesh, it is the last days. And if you read Acts 2, that's fulfilled at Pentecost. So I don't think the quote last days is necessarily the end of the world like a lot of Protestants and evangelicals do. We would say the last days began, the eschatological reality of the eternal state was brought at the first advent. And so when John sees into heaven, for example, in the book of Revelation, when he sees, chapters 5 through 9, the worship of in heaven, the marriage supper of the Lamb that's going on in heaven, that's for us the same thing as what you see in an Orthodox church of the Divine Liturgy. So the Divine Liturgy is literally the eschatological marriage feast of the Lamb here and now. So all that to say that there's a lot of things that I think have to occur that still haven't occurred. I lean more towards an optimistic eschatology that the majority of the world will be converted to authentic Christianity before the return of Christ. How and when that will come about, I don't know. But also Romans 11 and most of the church fathers who talk about it do discuss and believe in a future conversion of the Jews.